But welcome, thanks for coming. I know, day 3, woo, it's a thing. So welcome, glad to have you. My name is Noella Charity, and I am joined with a bunch of friends you're going to see on stage today. We're going to spend about the next hour talking to you about something pretty important, but I wanted to start off with a really important public service announcement. Right? Ever. Nobody wants to do the thing you are now about to learn how to solve for your customers, for your company. Nobody wants to push paper. I will tell you, I have 4 children, and I just recently moved to Washington State, and I had to go and sign them up for the dentist and doctors. Do you know how many times I filled out the same kind of piece of paper? I would have gladly had a bot to do this. I offer many times, and there's lots of challenges to that field, and I get it, but there's no customer on the planet who's like, please don't make this easier for me. Don't make it more convenient, right? Like, they want what we are about to share with you. So I encourage you to think about all of the things that we're about to share and how it might apply to your world. And also, think about these pre-built models that are available to you. So yes, some of these problems can be solved by writing your own machine learning models, and that's awesome and exciting. But if you don't have a PhD in data science or data wrangling, and you don't want to or have the skill set and don't want to go hire for lots and lots of money data scientists to help you solve these problems, there are actually quite a bit of services available at your fingertips today to build these pieces. So my role at Microsoft is to help developers understand and use this technology. So at the end of our session today, I will show you a bunch of communities that I'll encourage you to join because it's how you will get access to our tutorials and our samples. But there is no other time like today for developers, C# developers, Java developers, Node, Python, Go, to be able to leverage AI, infuse it into their apps without actually having to I always encourage people to go build a model once because it's cool and it's fun and you can say you did it and walk on. But you don't have to, and you can create incredibly powerful software. So what is it, right? Cognitive services, these pre-built models, there's many of them, 30 of them plus. We build more all the time, but the reason that they're so interesting is that it's not new to us, or it's new to you, maybe some of you. Actually, show of hands who, not including what you've learned so far this week, have used cognitive services before? Ooh, nice, fans, right? We're friends, kindred, nice, good. Good to meet you. So these services are all available to you. And we actually wanted, so I always like to show it just so you see the capabilities. This doesn't list the models by name, because as a developer, I'm like, I can figure that out. I want to know what my models can do for me. So I thought this was a unique way to present the information. You can tell we're actually going to focus in on just a couple of these use cases due to the time frame that we have. But amazing stuff, right? OCR, handwritten OCR. Poof, like business process automation, all over that, right? Computer vision, the ability to identify document types, the ability to organize and file, the ability to provide a bot that allows you with your voice to ask for things and have it just show up, right? The ability to even type in a search and have what you need just show up. That's the kind of power you want to give to your customers and your employees, and we're going to dive into some of those examples today. But first, I want to just share with you, we actually did a study. It's funny, sometimes we go into, and you might do this in your own companies, right? As a developer, we just kind of dive right into building stuff. We're like, I like this. I'm sure everyone else on the planet likes this. But we thought this year we'd do something different, which is be extremely data-driven in our approach to building solutions. So we went out and interviewed, we didn't, Microsoft did not. We hired a third-party company to be completely objective and go and ask the Fortune 1000, what are you doing? What are you investing in AI? What are you building? What are you currently building? What are you going to build? Right? And we ended up with about 500 use cases, 400 in high number, and they all fell into one of these 16 boxes. It would be awesome if I could say to you right now that as a developer experience, we're building it all. But I had to pick, what can I do this year? And so we picked 4 boxes. One of those is business process automation. Internal bots, you can actually come and see, build a bot in an hour tomorrow. We're not going to focus on that today, but BPA, we are going to focus on. So I just want to share with you just a few of the use cases that came out of that study. And you can see them here, right? Image creation, handwriting analysis, that's huge. All those forms I filled out. At least someone doesn't have to manually type them in. That's step 1. I'd eventually like to not fill the forms out if any of you are in that world. But at least let's start to automate parts of this process. You can also see, reputation management, right? The ability to do keyword identification, entity extraction, the ability to do PCI redaction, right? All of these things are like PCI, some of you shook your head, are familiar with this, right? Sometimes we have really important data, and in the customer obsession, we write it on docs and we don't realize, oh, darn, we probably shouldn't have scanned that in for all eternity. So it makes sense for us to come up with technology that can not only protect our customers, but can also protect our companies. So there are a few real-world problems I wanted to just share. I couldn't share the company names, not yet anyway, but I wanted to give you some real-world examples of the types of things that we are doing. So there's a few entertainment and media companies that are using cognitive services to do transcription and translation of programming live. You can actually see it right now, right up on top of the screen, right? We have PowerPoint Translator translating what I'm saying along with the text. So you can see how entertainment companies would want to do that. Our translation service does this in 60 languages in text. Why wouldn't you automatically, I'm from Miami, why wouldn't every company have the ability for someone to speak English and Spanish, and sometimes at the exact same time? We do that there. So it's really important for us to leverage these tools because you don't have to build it from scratch. You can use it as a web service, and it's incredible. Healthcare, right? Being able to identify emails, that alone can save huge amounts of time. Redact PCI data or PII data, we're going to talk about that in just a minute. News and information, right? Being able to do custom site searches and being able to provide news and clips and content from our organizations and bubble it up to the surface. We call them top-level intents. I just want to ask for what I want, and I want it to show up. How hard is that? Turns out it's actually pretty hard. But now we have services at your fingertips to let you do this. So what I want to do now is just hand it over for our first demo of the day and really talk to you about a very prevalent, an example I just shared with you, right? What happens when you have all of this data, and on some of that data, you've got people handwriting stuff they shouldn't handwrite, or you had business processes that didn't care if you put credit card numbers on things, right? How do you fix that? How do you make yourself compliant? How do you ensure that your business is not in jeopardy? So I'm going to welcome to the stage Sean and George, and they're going to talk to you all about it. Give them a round of applause.
Thank you, Noelle. So George and I are excited to be here today to share this solution area. There we go. So first we'll talk about what is redaction. So when we talk about redaction, it's kind of what we're showing in the picture here, where somebody's went through a document and kind of used a black Sharpie or something to take out a bunch of the content. So they do that for either security or legal purposes. And so how this came to be is I was in a meeting one day and somebody came up to me and said, John, does anybody in Microsoft or does Microsoft themselves have a solution that can help us go through a large amount of documents and redact content from them? And I said, well, I think I've seen something about that, but give me a day or two and we'll come back and I'll let you know what we have. And the reason I said that is I had recently seen a demo. So just by a show of applause, has anybody seen the JFK Files demo stuff? See some? Yep. Awesome. So what it does is it uses our cognitive search capabilities, and you can put in any keyword. In this case, we have Oswald. And you put it in the search box, and you click Next. And what that's going to do is go through all the content that we have stored there, whether it's typed, whether it's handwritten, or whether it's photos. And it's going to find any relation to the word Oswald and highlight it for you. And so first case, I'm like, well, this can't be that hard. Let's just highlight it black, and we'll probably be good with that. So I called up George, and I said, hey, George, just approach with this problem. Is this something you think we should work on? And of course, he said, yeah, let's do it. But let's look for something fun and exciting. Let's look for a credit card, right? So not something that was too easy. So we started looking at it. And what made it hard is we're not looking for a word. We're not looking for a synonym. We're looking for a pattern, right? We're not going to put into that search engine a series of numbers for a credit card because we don't know if the credit card exists or not. And we're talking about millions of documents we want to go through. So we set out to try and solve a problem using existing intellectual property and just expanding that. And so what we did is we went to the internet and we grabbed all kinds of documents that we could find, all kinds of forms, and we started putting in information in the forms. So on the right-hand side here, we have an example where there would be a credit card box on the form, and we put in the credit card number there. But also, the person may have been talking on the phone at the time, and they may have just, handwritten it at the top where it shouldn't have been. And it may or may not be a credit card. And I probably should say right now, none of the credit card numbers up here are valid. They're all generated to look like or pass certain checksum algorithms, but they won't actually work, just for notes people taking down here. And so, yeah, there could be written on it. On the right-hand side, somebody may have put it on a Post-it note because they were taking notes while they were on the phone, put it on top of that document, scanned it in, thinking that they're preserving it for all the right reasons. And then there it is. It's there for forever. We also decided to take a list of numbers, just a whole bunch of numbers, put them all onto sequentially on a list there and see, can it find good numbers and bad numbers in there? And even use cases where somebody had previously tried to redact it before they scanned it in, but then through the contrast and scanners today, you can actually kind of read it through there. And so we also wanted to make sure that it wasn't always on the same spot. So it might be on page 1, it might be on page 8, it could be a 20-page form, and we wanted to be able to go through millions of pages to do this. And so it took about 2 days for us to sit down and talk through it and work something out. And after that, we had a demo, which is kind of similar to what we're about to show you here. And in this demo, what we've done is we've keyed it to search for credit cards, obviously, but through thinking and through ideation, we believe that we could extend this to other things like SIN numbers, passports, healthcare numbers potentially. There's a lot of other information or PII that we think we could find with it. But enough about the background. Who wants to see the demo?
Hey everybody, so what you see on the screen here is our page for our computer vision cognitive service, and this is the basis of what we were using. Oh, sorry, there you go, thank you. There you go. All right, so this is our computer vision cognitive service page. I'm sure many of you have used this. So the first service that we've got up here, the first component of that is image detection or aspects of image. So if you click on that image, it will give you some descriptions of what's in that. But where we were focusing was down on this one, where you can pass in an image with handwriting in it, and it can extract from that image the content of the text which is within it. So as you can see, the text is here, but what was important to us was this aspect, the bounding box. So it actually gives you the coordinates of where that text is within the image. So that's the basis of what we were looking at. So if I just show you a couple of these files that we'll put through as a demo. So some handwritten text here with a valid credit card number here and a valid credit card number here, but a set of numbers that just happen to look like a credit card number in the middle there. We've also got a PDF document, because most of the documents that we were looking at when we did this solution were PDF-based, obviously, handwritten and scanned, and they were looking back over many years. So what we have here is just a credit card number written in a random spot on the form, but we also have predictable areas on a form, a zone, if you want to call it that, where a user is supposed to be filling in their credit card information. Another scenario we had was where we would find something that looked like a credit card number but wasn't. We might want to highlight that to the business user so that they could put that through a manual process and determine if it was a credit card number but the OCR failed to read it, so that they could process it manually. So as you can see in that case, it's clearly an invalid credit card number. This was the test case we had where we had the Post-it note on there. So literally, We felt that businesses would have this scenario where it would be written anywhere on the form, random locations, or put on as a Post-it note. And here's a fun one. I took one of Sean yesterday, working a Ask the Experts booth. Right, so in our configuration options, what we've got in the solution here is the ability to select which type of credit card we're interested in redacting. So JCB, Discover, Amex, Visa, so we're just focusing on a few here. We've also got this concept of tells, we called them, so looking for specific text on a form and therefore identifying what the form was and what the associated predictable zone was that we were looking to redact from that form. So let's go in and we'll run this now. So here's the code. Let's just fire it up, and I'm going to give it the input folder where we're picking up files from, and the output folder. Oops. And the output folder, the configuration file that we're pointing it to, and we'll let that chug away. So while that's doing its thing, it will go up and run through each of the individual files and start to output them over here. When we were looking at doing this on large scale, we were looking at using Azure Batch to process in parallel and get through these documents really quickly. But let's start having a look at some of the outputs of this thing. So there you can see the document that we put in initially. So it recognized the two credit card numbers that were valid, and it bypassed the invalid one. And it does that on two levels. It uses a regex pattern to firstly identify the credit card, a potential credit card number, and then it uses a checksum algorithm as a second pass to validate that it is actually a true credit card. So we were looking at scenarios where you didn't obviously want to redact something that might have been a driver's license number or some sort of number that was relevant to an industry that they actually did want to keep. We can have a look at the PDF structure here. And as you can see, it grabbed the credit card number at the top and the zone down at the bottom. This is the example of the fuzzy logic where it wasn't a credit card, but it thought it was. In this case, we did it based on proximity to the words American Express or Amex or Visa, whatever. So if it was close to a credit card, we could highlight that to the user and they could then process that manually. There's Sean at his booth. So we managed to grab that credit card number. And finally, the Post-it note where it grabbed from there. The last piece in the puzzle that we had in this solution was tracking the actual activity of what went on in processing. So as you can see here, we're using Cosmos DB to structure or store the output of our runs. So as you can go through, you can see that in this particular document or image, it processed one page and it found an Amex card and a MasterCard on that page. Didn't find any fuzzy matches. So that's a way of like tracking progress and monitoring what's actually going on within the solution. So there you go. Right, back to you, Sean.
Right. So just to kind of recap what we just went through there from a solution point of view. On the left-hand side, we have a PDF file that's being brought in. We separate that out into the subsequent pages, which is what you see under the preprocessor. Under the processor, what we're doing is that OCR technology to bring all that data in. And then what we do is remove all the white space within that, so it becomes one contiguous string. When we go into the pattern match controller, we're actually looking for any of those checksums, as George was talking about, and we identify any of those that are potentially within there. As we go over to the masker, we're bringing that binding box with it to be able to say, these are the ones that we want to remove, and this is where they are within the page. The post-processor actually puts that bounding box around that, highlights it in black at this point, and then puts all those pages back together and resaves it as a PDF document.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
There we go.
All right. Hello, turn it off. It's me again. Hi. Can you hear me? That was awesome. Like, seriously, the first time I saw this, I was like, so every government, business, legal, healthcare, like anyone who has docs and humans, that is a thing. Extremely interesting. I'm personally, like I said, the first time I saw it, I was like, how do we do that? So one of the questions we often get is like, awesome, how do I do that? So my team, like I said, we're involved in making this available to developers. And so we have a developer community. As I mentioned, I'll show you those at the end. And we make this available basically on GitHub. So we're working on it right now and kind of making it something that is usable for you guys, but like productizing and making sure it's templatized. But that's coming soon, so I certainly hope you'll join us. And I'd love to share that with you because I'm sure there are people in here that might find that beneficial. Now, as we move to the next piece, I think it's really interesting to start thinking about all of the use cases. So I know previously we showed you a slide that had all of the use cases on it. The good news is that this is being recorded, so you'll have a chance to go back and see it. You can also connect with any of us on LinkedIn. We'd be happy to share with you, the deck that is that's provided. You can specifically tweet me, and I'd be happy to share that. But we can't talk about all of them, right? But there are a couple that you can go to market with today. And so I want to just take the last few moments that we have to go through an example, really a set of examples around search. And so I'm going to welcome to the stage Brian, who leads our Bing search ecosystem.
All right, thanks so much. Noah. Wasn't that last demo awesome? I was sitting in my seat going like, that was so cool. I loved it. Thank you all for coming to Orlando and joining us today. Let me see if I can make this work here. It wants to. OK, it's a little slow. Great. So yeah, here we are in Orlando. And I see some of you in the audience who have come by and visited us at our booth. Thank you so much for that. What we're going to talk about a bit today is about the data that exists in the world. And great businesses run on great data. And while I've been talking to you here, there have been literally millions and millions of changes out in the world in terms of data, in terms of web documents, in terms of tweets, in terms of SMS messages, and all of those. What we do at Bing is we follow all of those. We see about 76 billion URL changes a day, and we index a good percentage of those and add them to the 35 trillion that we've seen already. And what our APIs can do is connect you to that world of changing data. So today I'm going to show you some scenarios and some of the capabilities that we have that you can leverage for your business today. Now, what does that look like? Well, I'm sure you can imagine that, you know Bing, the search engine, it's got lots of capabilities in terms of finding results for things. Here we have Uncle Bill on the screen, and I can see deep links about him. I can see images. I can see the latest news. I can see videos, all of that great stuff. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's really great if I want to build a search engine. And some of our great big partners do. But beyond that, you can use that information for your purposes, for your business as well. The Web Search API, just to give you a little bit of background, because I know many of you are quite technical, we provide search responses through our web API that come back in the form of JSON, and we can provide all of that query content and web pages and news and images and videos as various objects and structures that you can walk through in your JSON. And we have partners like Yahoo that use that to make their SERP pages. We've got partners like AOL who use that to make their SERP pages. But we also have people who use that information to do lots of very, very interesting things. Like, for example, Grammarly. Grammarly provides a service that allows for plagiarism detection. And they use the corpus of every public document on the internet and can compare that to submissions from students. And lots of submissions from students. They can help them find those references that they meant to put in their footnotes for where they found these great ideas that they might have been adding to their document. And in other cases, they can guide them to additional information. But here's an example where you're using the output of a search algorithm and the many, many thousands of classifiers that we have and the machine learning behind that to find that right information anywhere on the planet that's publicly available and use it for plagiarism detection. We've got companies like Airbnb who use search to manage and help with their listings and make sure that their listings stay great. We've got companies like Pilo, who create this little medicine robot that helps seniors take their pills, and they make it interactive. So when you talk to Pilo and you say, hey, okay, Pilo, how many calories are there in a banana? He can tell you, because we're providing those entities, we're providing that information through our Entity API so that Pilo can tell you whether or not that banana is good for you today or not. But we have many other verticals as well. We have a news vertical, a video vertical, an image vertical, and much newer, which I'll go into a little bit more deeply in a moment, a visual search vertical. Because while it's great searching with text to bring back things like, what's the real-time news related to my company or to my product? And we'll talk about that and how you can use that for reputation management. Or being able to find the latest videos on a particular item or images. And they're all text-based entry, but what if I've got a picture and I want to query using that picture? Well then, great, visual search allows me to do that and bring back lots of great information, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So here's an example scenario in terms of reputation management. So all of you have businesses, you have customers, you have products. You probably really care about what people think about your business and your products on a day-to-day basis. And here I've run a query on Microsoft and on Office 365, and this is example output that you today can go to the page in Cognitive Services, and you can try out this API, and you can do it for your company and for your products and see what comes back from our API. But imagine programmatically tracking these sentiments. So if I put in the query for Forza Horizon 4, I can take the output of that news item, and I can tie it into our text analytics, and I can see that, oh, this review that we had on one of the game websites has a super, super positive sentiment. I'm feeling really great about that. What are the ones I'm really looking for, though? Where it says negative and it's 4%, and maybe my PR team wants to look at that and really understand, hey, what's going on there? Did somebody have a really bad experience? We should probably get on that. So while most of you might be out there searching in your favorite search engine for your products and looking on various news sites for that kind of thing, imagine if you could do that programmatically. You can today. This is a solution that you can create, I would say, in under an hour. And you can do that across many languages. We've got quick starts. I'm not going to go into this much today, but I will give a plug for our documentation, our SDK team, who have made these quick starts available, 5-minute quick starts, in many, many languages, in C# in Python, and you can try them out. They're really, really great. So that's when we're using it. We've got Adobe Spark using our image search to bring results into their product, and they're really great because they make their products available to students really, really cheaply. And one of the things that they wanted to do was, hey, how can I find images easily that people could use in their website? So we have a filtering ability in our image search that allows you to scope things down to images that are available in Creative Commons. Nice. This is available for commercial use. I don't have to pay for this. I want more of that. That's fantastic. So they can bring that in, and those students can use that, and anybody can use it, even the people who actually pay for Adobe Spark, which is really, really fantastic. And our API allows them to manifest this search right there in the product. It isn't a case of, I need to go out, I need to find it, I need to save it on my machine. You can see how now the process is much more automated, much faster, creating delight for all their users, and is really, really great. It's a really great product. I'd suggest you try it out. WhatsApp uses it to find, when you want to put in that cute GIF or that lovely logo for your group. You probably made groups while you were here at Ignite. I know we did. I'm probably on like 5 different Ignite groups, and I'm having trouble keeping up with everyone in the evening, but it's great. Here I'm using a search based on Xbox, since I'm feeling comfortable about using these. We were just talking about Creative Commons. But in WhatsApp, they use our image search, again, to bring back those and to sort of take their product to that next level in terms of feeling connected and having those capabilities. Copyright management. So many of you have media, and Noel was talking about news and media companies earlier. and you've got great content, you've got your logo, you've got your logos associated to a new product, you've got information, and you can use our search capabilities to go and detect copyright infringement. Who's using my logo that shouldn't be using it? Who's copying my product in a way that they shouldn't be, or trying to pretend or state that they're me? This is a real issue for many, many companies today as the web grows and grows and grows, and people sort of take liberties, and we wish they didn't, but there you go, it happens. And I can find out where my logo or my information is being used, so I can remind that person that maybe they should be giving me a loyalty or something, or maybe not using it at all. But another way that you can manage your information. I told you earlier that I'd tell you more about visual search, so this one's really exciting. I'm a huge fan of our visual search capability, and a picture really is worth 1,000 words. And there's many things that I can't describe, like I went to my friend's house the other day, and he had this really cool sort of light and chandelier, and I couldn't tell you how to describe that if I was going to search for it, but I can take a picture of it with my phone, and using visual search, I can find similar objects on the web. Here, I'm showing a couple of other features, including web annotations. So imagine, for example, you're a company that allows the uploading of products or images, and maybe people describe things really well, maybe they don't describe things really, really well. Well, our web annotations, based on this picture here, will actually come back with, yeah, this is living room furniture, and it's yellow living room furniture on top of that. And the kind of searches that we see that would bring somebody to an image like this are these related searches. Or maybe you're running, I talked to a lovely gentleman earlier from a university, and they were creating a new library catalog. And here visual search could be used to take those barcodes in books and actually return what is the book. So again, back to Uncle Bill and his book. We can help you create those, there's a lot of new applications being created on mobile devices today, and people are more and more interested in using a camera and using that mode. And we're actually seeing, significant growth, especially in Asia, for people using their camera on their phone to query. We have capabilities where we can take your photograph, you could create a shopping experience. We can actually identify items in that picture that are very, very visually similar, and go out onto the web and provide that experience or entity identification, or find similar images. It's sort of like, that's not exactly what I was looking for, but if you could find me something that was kind of like that, that would be great. And how many times have you asked somebody in a store that? And here you have a capability to do that. So this is technology today that you can integrate into your mobile applications and tie it to a camera and work from there. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit now, because I'm going to talk about Bing Custom Search. Now, earlier I was talking about how all of your products and services are really important to your businesses, and connecting customers with your products and services is very, very important. Bing Custom Search allows you to create an instance of a search that's defined to a specific domain. Now, that could be your business. You might have multiple domains for your business. Or you could even create a vertical search where you have domains across an entire industry. Create the best healthcare search, financial search, legal search, whatever is your interest area. Today I'm going to talk about this in terms of a search specific to your business. So if you think about all that public content that you have available, and if somebody comes to your site today, how easy is it to find your products and services? Maybe it's really great, and you have something there. Or maybe it's a lot of overhead to manage. If you come down to our booth to us, I guarantee you I will create a great custom search for you in 30 seconds, or you can go and do it yourself. I promise you, and I'm going to show you that here today. Here's an example of a partner that's using our custom search. So we create a JSON output, or we create a hosted UI. I'll demo that for you in a moment. Here's Temple University, who's using our output to connect their students with courses and finding information, key information on their site. I promised a few announcements as part of our talk today. I should have said that up front. We're going to announce a few things as we go through here, and we have some interesting giveaways for our Q&A at the end as well, so we'll get to that. But at Ignite here, you're hearing it for the first time. We are launching Custom Search v3. So since last October, we've gone through 3 versions, which just goes to show the speed and scale at where we want to advance this technology. And we've added some new capabilities to Custom Search, and I'll show you those today. We've added customizable video search, custom themes for your hosted UI. We have pinning support. We have allow you to fine-tune your query suggestions and a few other things. That's a lot to take in, so I think it would be much better if we actually go to a demo. So let me just log in here, and hopefully all of my logins, I'll go and refresh them really quickly before we switch over, because sometimes I get logged out in between. That's always fun. And now I'll just switch over here, and we'll show you what's going on. Okay, what am I looking at, you're wondering? Well, this is the administration tool for Custom Search. You've just signed in, it's a blank canvas, and it allows you to create a custom search in literally seconds. All you have to do is enter in your domain. I'm going to pretend that I own all of the content on Xbox.com. I'm a gaming company. I'm going to pretend Xbox.com is my company, and I'm going to use that to demonstrate. So all I did was type in audience participation. I was just making sure that you guys were paying attention, and also demonstrate how hard it is to see my screen with the bright lights. So Xbox. Just testing, just seeing if you're all still with me. It's getting worse, isn't it? Okay. How about we do that? All right. Woo! Round of applause just for getting the name right. Love it. You guys are great. I love it. This is great. So it's that easy. And if I come over to the right side, it lets me try it out. So I can make changes on the left to the configuration, and I can try it out on the right-hand side. So what's something I might search for? I might search for Forza, for example, on Xbox. And you're probably wondering, oh, well, Brian, if I put in my site, how quickly will it index my site? That's the great news. We've already indexed the entire planet, and we continue to do so every day, so it'll be instantaneous. And that's why it'll work for you right out of the box. So here you can see, oh, we've got Forza Motorsport 7. Yeah, that's kind of a new one that they released, and some other ones down there. But you know what I noticed down here? I noticed the Xbox One S Forza Horizon 4, which is just coming out, bundle that's just coming out. I'm really not trying to advertise Xbox stuff here, but this is just an interesting result. What I can do is I can change the ranking of this. So you're in control. So I'm going to pin that one to the top. I'm clicking on pin to top here. And you'll notice before I do that, we have an active list here of what's being included in our search. And we've got 2 other tabs blocked and pinned. And the pinned ones will allow me to pin something to the top. So I click pin to the top. It came over to the pin tab. And now that particular page for the query Forza, an exact match, will allow me to re-rank to the top. So now I'm going to rerun that let's test it again. We run Forza. And sure enough, immediately it makes that change. And now I'm re-ranking to where this is at the top. Think of how you can control people moving through your site. You have a particular marketing campaign going on. You know that there's specific queries coming into your site, and you want to direct people to content. And you can create an instance of a search. You can create multiple instances of a search so that you can have different search boxes on different parts of your site that focus on different things. Like maybe you have Xbox.com, but you want to leave out a certain part of it. Like, for example, I could block in this instance. Let's see if I can find an example down here so I can show you. I think I had one earlier, but things change. Okay, see, here's news.xbox.com, Forza Racing World Championship. Let's block news.xbox.com. So if I click block, I can block news, or I can go a level below that, or I can go a level below that, or just the 28 stuff. Let's take the whole thing out. Done. So I've blocked support, I've blocked news, great. And now when I come back and I do a search for Forza, all of the news items are gone, and everything else basically got moved up. So that easy to manage and create those different things within your search. Okay, great. So that's sort of a very basic view here. Here's one I made earlier in true Blue Peter fashion. I'm from Ireland, so I have to bring the local references in. The one that I've created here, I've added Xbox and Minecraft, and I've added Microsoft Store as well, because I wanted to demonstrate to you some of the other capabilities that we have, including we have added in version 3, not only do we have the usual text support, but we have image support. Look at those cool cars. I really like those pictures. We have video support, including the ability for you to see previews of those videos as well. So I know you're thinking, it's like, this is great, Brian. I'm in the admin tool, but how do I make this real for my site? How do I actually use this? Do I need a team of developers now, or do I need to spend hours putting this together? Well, if you want to create your own presentation layer, if you want to really, really create that look that that Temple University had, yeah, we have the ability to give you an endpoint that you can use, that you can get that JSON output. So let me just put a key in here, and let me run a quick, I'll do that Forza one again, and I come down here, and I see the API response, and it didn't like that key. That's okay, we'll just go to the hosted UI version. There it is down there. So I've created a custom configuration based on how I've set this up. And there's two ways to output this. I can either take the JSON output, I'll go grab a key in a second, we'll get that, or I can use what we call our hosted UI. So the hosted UI is really, really cool. It basically allows me to configure the look and feel of the output on this tab over here, where I can just create something, and I've added a logo in here to save it sometimes, and I've named it sort of our ultimate games. But I can make it a standard page, I can make it a pop-up, and with just 2 lines of script, I can add this to my site. So one of the additional things that we've added this time around is the ability to configure this even more, where I can change the colors and the look and feel, I can add a logo, I can have additional colorized themes, so I can override the CSS, I can change it to my school colors or my company colors. Really, really nice. And then where does that ultimately end up in terms of being able to use it? Well, I put together this page. Great, it's actually showing up in the right size and resolution. And what I've done is, let me tab over here. I've taken the output that we saw back here in custom search. I want to show you where you can find this, because it's really important that you can do this. Over in the production area, if I go down to hosted UI after configuring it, I get a little piece of script that tells me I can either use that piece of script, or this is the actual code to the actual page that I generated. If I come over here to my page, I can go ahead and I can add that in. So I've made a little div here, and it's a really, really simple page. It's just got a header and a footer, and now I'm iframing in this page here, and it's got my custom configuration number, which is that instance of that search. And you can have as many of these as you want. So now if I come back here, and we refresh that, and we have our text box show up, now I can come over here and I can do a search for Forza. And you can see that that's showing up in line on my page now. And it was that easy. It was just basically drop it into my page. I can do images as well. Great, there's those great images. And you'll see all of the great filters that we have available. For example, say I wanted to go with the color, I don't know, I was looking at this earlier, and I really liked the color yellow, for example. I can choose the color yellow, and now you can see we're filtering just to pictures that have a predominant yellow color in it, which is really, really cool. And then I can also do videos, which is one of the things that we added in V3, which we think is really, really cool. And our videos, if I mouse over them here, you'll see we also support the preview. We do all that for you. So in 30 seconds of setup and pasting a little bit of code on the page, you can have an awesome experience that's tailored to your business and your needs. It won't be Xbox, it'll be your content, but it'll be just as exciting for your users, which is fantastic. Okay, I'm moving back from my demo now because we have a few other things to cover really quick, and then we'll get to our Q&A. All right. So, some new products. We've got some additional items coming out, and we are adding to our set of cognitive services a local business API. We have a public preview of that so that you can do things like this. So say I'm getting business input into my forms, I can use the local API to validate it. Did this business give me the right address? Are they trying to spoof it in some way? Or do I just want to be able to use this to do geocoding, or do I want to be able to look up addresses, or have the ability to, you can submit a search to this including restaurants near me and use the lat long information, which is really, really cool. We're announcing custom visual search. So while I described to you the ability to use visual search to take images that you thought were interesting and find out information about them, custom visual search will allow you to take your corpus of images, your inventory of images, and do additional processing on top of those to get information and annotations out of that, which is really, really cool. We have that in private preview. I'll give you a QR code at the end that will take you to a page if you want to come and sign up for that. And we'll eventually move into public preview and GA for that. URL preview is moving into private preview. This is another one where we can automate items into your mobile applications. What does this do? Well, basically, for any URL, it will tell you the title and snippet of that URL, and it'll tell you if it's family-friendly or not. So does it have any adult content? That can be really, really important in terms of, you know, hey, there's people typing information into my application. So for your chatbots, for example, Skype has this kind of functionality today. Somebody types in xbox.com, and we can pass back this JSON here where we're saying, yes, this is family friendly. That's great. It's content we want. And we've given you the predominant image and title and snippet so that you can use that within your mobile applications as well. And that's all I had. And I'll leave that QR code up there for a second and pass it back to Noelle, who can finish this out. And thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you guys so much. So what we've done, you know, in the course of this presentation is, as I mentioned at the beginning, is that there are many use cases, right? Search is a huge one. Just giving the ability for your employees and your customers to find what they need is huge. Being able to then solve problems like things that happen when humans get involved and write things where they shouldn't, or just changing your business process, having to accommodate compliance and regulatory requirements. All of a sudden now, how do you do that? The way I kind of think about it is that it's like we want you to start thinking, when you have this problem pop up in your head, the first thing you want to think is, which one of those models could I possibly use to solve this? Before you dive into like, let's write something ourselves, let's build an, you know, old school business application. Like, first think, is there a model that could help me do this faster, better, stronger than I would do it if I did it myself? And what we have found, and this of course is based on the data that we are seeing, that it is in our best interest, right, to try and build on, you know, what we say, like the shoulders of giants, right? Why manually write the business logic into your application to handle this if you have an opportunity to at least test out? What we always say is, start small, test it out, build a POC. Luckily today, all of these APIs are available either as RESTful calls or through SDKs, so that building a POC takes very, very little time. I always say it takes less than a day or less than 3 days, but it just depends, right? Some people are like, well, I'm not you, it took me 5 weeks. So take your time, but it's super easy, right? It's something that we pride ourselves on, take advantage of all of the engineers. You know, these models are not new. We've done this for decades now. So take advantage of the work that's gone into these in order to be able to do things you've never been able to do before. That we've all, like as an engineer, I've seen these problems and thought about solving it, and then as I planned out a solution, said, by the time I finish this project, the problem will have changed. And then we end up not building it at all, right? So now it's different. I have solved problems I've had executive briefings where I literally solve problems in the hour that I have to talk to them, which is just very unique, and it's just something I've never seen before in my career. And so I think it's really interesting. The last thing we want to give you is, and we're going to open it up for Q&A, so we really, business process automation is a huge kind of area. So we wanted to give a lot of time for questions, but I will leave this up while we do that. This is our opportunity to open the doors to you. We love your feedback, number one. Our backlog is driven by our customer feedback. What gets upvoted is what gets put in a backlog and prioritized, and I'm the one like screaming, hey, no, this is what we need. And so user voice is our way of doing that. Stack Overflows for technical questions. I'm sure those of you who know have been there. We do live Twitch streams. Now this is across all cognitive services, so we hit them all in a month, but we have a schedule available for that. We have a Facebook group. So if you want to join, this is for people who are like building. So if you go there, you can certainly look around. But if you're building, I publish documents, sample repos, and most importantly, you're my test market in that group. I publish repos into this private group just to get some feedback. So if you want early access to some of these samples that are in that 16-box thing that you saw, that would be a great group to join, or have a developer join who could help you. Of course, we have all of our samples on GitHub. Shout out to all the teams. Every model has a team of engineers that help build the model and make it available to you. But as part of that, they create samples to make it easy for you to get started. We have quick starts for every pre-built model, so you'll want to take advantage of that. And of course, you can join me on Slack. This is an informal channel. It's literally like I'm on the jet bridge headed to my next location, and I'm just in there like answering questions. We have lots of people. I sent it to every internal team and said, hey, if you're one of those people who like to answer people's questions, jump on in. So we have representation from all teams, but it's very, it's informal, it's Slack, but it's a chance to get your questions answered very, very quickly. But also be aware that, we're all people and we do sleep, not a lot, but we do. But I definitely invite you to that. You should be allowed to jump right in. So let me invite the rest of everyone up here. But thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to open it up now for some questions. Come on up, guys. Let's do it. Yeah, we're not going to say that first. So if you have a question, come to the mic. There might be presents involved. Only because we're recording this, so it'd be awesome if we gave people an opportunity. First question's always the hardest, so thank you, sir. Oh, good, we'll be giving him a nice limited edition shirt.
Very nice.
We only have a few, so don't do it.
So I wanted to
Is that medium?
understand how Microsoft's wanting to address the ethical concerns around giving such power to users. I mean, the first demo that was showed, which was able to pretty much scan credit cards out of any internet image, could be potentially used by anyone, and could not such a well-meaning person potentially. How is this addressed? Oh, thank you. How is this addressed? How are you approaching this issue?
Oh my gosh, such a good question. So I've done a bunch of sessions this week, but in many of them I mentioned ethics. And it's a differentiator for this company. It's why I joined Microsoft, actually. So we have a partnership in AI organization. We actually have principles of AI that all of our engineering teams are bound by. So these are principles you can go take a look at: privacy, security. We encourage actually all partners that we work with to use them. Obviously, we can't require it, but it is a top of mind, and it's actually, we have ethics review boards that monitor, right, the activity, the demonstrations that we build. So internally, as we encourage you internally, you have to put processes in place to check these things. As a company like Microsoft that's pervasive, we also provide heavy guidance to organizations, especially large ones, about how to build things ethically. So that's how we've started. This is a evolving initiative. But the one clarification I'd want to make, and you guys can certainly correct me, is that we didn't search the internet, right? This is basically a customer solution. So it's not like we went to the internet and like went, ooh, I wonder what, I mean, maybe you could do that, but this was a customer solution. So all we can do as a company is create an ethics board, create a set of principles for all engineers to adhere to, and then be super strict about that. But I certainly want to give you guys a chance to chime in if you have anything more to say. But partnership on AI, if you haven't seen it, go take a look at it. It shows our tenants. And it's something I've had work that I've worked on a long time get denied because of those policies. So they are in place. Yeah. But thank you. That's a great question.
That's great. Great answer.
So Bing Search for Business, is that still in preview, where you can get internal results?
Where you get internal results. So there was an announcement as part of Ignite how that's becoming part of Microsoft Search, which is a slightly different team to mine, but they are anxious and willing and want to talk to you. Down in the modern workplace area, they have a booth there, and it is getting bigger and bigger in terms of its scope, and yes, available and growing, and you should definitely use it because it's super cool.
We're going to go to this side. Thank you. Do you want to give him one?
Sure. Do you want to? You can have a T-shirt, or we also have these
Maybe you can do both.
USB key credit cards.
Yes. You could give both.
You could have both. How about that?
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, this has to do with Bing Custom Search.
Yes.
So it's great to be able to customize the search through the UI. But what about being able to customize it through an API?
Yes, okay, so you can absolutely customize it through an API by taking the JSON output and then doing your own presentation layer. So we want to...
I mean, if I want to add a domain to the search or take away a domain.
Oh, okay, that's a
that?
great feature request. Yeah, you want to be able to update the configuration. That's a fabulous, I love that feature request. I'm going to totally take that back to the team.
Yeah, because I played with it, but that's one of the limitations. We're trying to build a search that focus on a community-driven set of links.
I see. So you want to be able to add to the collection and the set of links. Something that we did add in our last Rev 2 and V2 was instance sharing, so that more people could actively work on a specific project at the same time. So we're sort of headed in that trajectory. Yep. But this is another great example. So thank you for that feedback. I'll definitely take that back to the team. And we'll look at API editions of domains.
That would be great.
And I can run my spell corrector on it beforehand as well to help me when I'm putting them in.
Great. Question.
It's Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
When you did your demo, you did canned searches.
I'm sorry, say again?
When you did your demo, you did canned searches. Is there a way you can implement like a generic search across your site for information?
Oh no, these were not canned searches. I could have typed, I did put in searches that I knew would yield beautiful results, but you can certainly put any query into that. So when you create your custom search instance, you can hit that box on the right-hand side with any query you want, and so could I there. I could have searched for Forza or Gears of War or any of them, and they would have all come back based on the content. So no, that's the intent. You want to create a robust, super powerful commercial-grade search that is running over all of your content, and it'll work for every and any query that's relevant to your content.
All right, thank you.
But yeah, definitely give it a go. And give us feedback if you find anything that you think needs to be improved.
Thanks, Scott. All right, yeah.
Do you expect these capabilities to be on the U.S. government or DoD regions? Yeah, I know.
Yep.
That's a great question. I don't know if we can
It is that.
Let's talk afterwards, just from the standpoint that
Do not post that in Slack, no.
Like a real soon.
no,
It's actually, we're closer than you think. The challenge we have is that it's a observation process, and we are currently in that process. And so we, don't want to jinx anything, but we are in a path. So we can inform you kind of informally and not on YouTube for all to see. But yeah, so let's talk about it. But it is in process, and we are moving in that direction.
Right.
But where we are exactly in that path, we can't.
And the reason I was suggesting we talk afterwards is that I'd love to know which areas you're most interested in, so that we can
Maybe.
We'll see over there. But the active military sites already use Bing for search, which is great.
Awesome.
Have you any good or clients that had successful integrations with their on-premise SharePoints and using some of these cognitive solutions, especially particularly the credit card example that you used?
Do you want to take that one, Sean?
Sorry, here, let me drop these off first. I don't want you to miss it.
Thank you for doing that.
Sorry, can I get you to repeat the question?
These are credit card USB keys, by the way. They're really nice. Go in your wallet or your purse and take 16 gigs with you.
Yeah, right. They only have a small RFID.
Have you had customers that have been successful in
location
integrating sort of the AI experience in their SharePoint on-premises environments? Particularly, I'm interested in the credit card example that you used with the image recognition.
So we haven't used that in more of a public way like that, like through a SharePoint. We had a document library that we used to go against that. So they had them all extracted from a database to be able to fly through them. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to.
No, absolutely. That could be fired against a SharePoint document repository. If even also like using Word documents, transforming them to PDF, doing the redaction, storing them as PDF, and then doing whatever you wanted to do with the original Word document. So yeah, it's very extensible in that regard.
Yeah. And the other thing that I would mention is that all of the APIs that we showed today that haven't shipped yet, I literally have thousands and thousands of businesses and companies using them today in their own fabulous and unique ways, and we learn from all of you, and we appreciate that.
For the redaction services associated with cognitive search, I'd love to be able to use that within our organization for purposes of blacking out sensitive data. In the demo, you were obviously batting 1,000 in terms of success rate, but how do you recommend customers dial that in to make sure that it's running optimally for them? How do they go back and see this worked 100% of the time versus this worked 75% of the time? Is there a machine learning component to that? Is there a manual process that we're doing?
Yeah, sure. So in our solution, when we've spoken to people about it, often they're not looking, as you say, for like 100%. They're looking for a balance between losing information that they may not want to be redacted and keeping sensitive information. So we showed the Cosmos DB thing at the back there, where the actual processing results were stored. And we went through the ideas of producing Power BI dashboards to monitor as it's going along the actual amount of documents that are being produced, redacted, the amount that have got the fuzzy elements to it, so they can determine if they need to add in an additional type of form that may have come in that wasn't being scanned. It was a different zone in there, etc. So we encouraged, as we were speaking to people about this, to monitor it as they're going through and adapt it. So there's definitely a learning period. It's not just firing it at a set of documents and hoping for the best.
A correlation match threshold you can dial up or down to be more sensitive or less sensitive in terms of?
Yeah, there is actually. Yeah, you could do that. Yeah. We haven't in the example, but thinking about it, yeah, you absolutely could.
You could also have it that 1 in 100 documents, 1 in 50 documents, whatever, just flagged to a separate directory so that you could go and manually just check that as well before you committed it.
Questionable, so go in and manually process these ones.
Exactly.
And one of the things that we always encourage people to do is to make sure that you remind the business that this is AI and therefore a research project. And so you should be given quite a bit of leniency around like, oh, this might totally fail. The margins might not be decent. And then you have to have that time where you do small iterations over and over and over again, and you see that model improve just a little bit over time. Because sometimes when we offer this to the business, they're like, great, produce that, and I want to ship it in 6 weeks or whatever. And we're dealing with AI and confidence intervals and the ability and percentages, right? So it's a lot of experimentation. So we want to be really transparent about that.
And just one more point on there. You said, yeah, in the demo, we had a sample set that was 100% accurate. We obviously do get errors. One of the things we've seen is if a user's filling in some text on a line and they put a 1 at the end of the line, the last number in the credit card's a 1, sometimes it would look on that as part of the box, of a bounding box. So in that case, that's why we did the fuzzy matching, and we're looking to increase the intelligence behind that to highlight what what may not be, and putting that into a separate bucket for manual processing.
I'm so sorry for the guys like right in the light. So I'm going to start on this side, and then we'll go to you, and then we'll come back. So
Do you guys take any kind of like machine learning into effect with the search results? For instance, like if someone is in the custom search picking the third result every single time after 100 times, does that get bumped to the second or the first result?
So we take into account, it's a great question. We take into account Bing's broader index or global index when we manifest results for custom search. So if something is getting more interest, that definitely has an effect on our machine learning. There are many things that do in terms of where is this being linked to and 1,000 other things. But we do take that into account in terms of the overall global index and
You're not taking it into account at the local level, so you're not prioritizing anything from that custom search box or that custom API that says, hey, people that search in this box or this API that we set up, 9 out of 10 times they're picking the third result. I should bump that up.
At your local level for items that you're blocking, no. But the fact that people are clicking on that will ultimately impact the overall index as well. So I'd expect things to start moving up. And the fact that you can re-rank yourself, and the part that we didn't have time to get into today was around our statistics, because we have a full statistics package that ships with this as well, where you can see your top queries coming in, and you can associate there, and you can kind of go back and replay that and say, okay, well, what are people really looking for on my site, and how should I manage my result set accordingly?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
For the redaction, did you guys look at, not everybody always writes, especially when they're jotting in a horizontal line. Did you, look at, can you do it up and down or diagonally or?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So yeah, we have done tests where, like on the Post-it note, it was put on an angle. People were writing at an angle, obviously not straight, and we had mixed results with that. So in many cases, it would redact. In many cases, it wouldn't. It would fail in that regard. So one of the things I've been thinking about but never tried is like moving the page, like rotating the page and doing multiple redactions on it, and then then just presenting a consolidated image on that. The other thing that we would look to do is to plug into that group within the product group and make that as a suggestion if we're seeing those type of failures, giving that feedback actively to the group to look to see if they want to improve in that space. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, I saw when you did the query, is there any way to, if say you had multiple queries, is there any way to take those queries and group them visually on the back end or add tags or something if I want to show someone else that I'm working with, hey, we're working with these 3 sections, or being able to separate that information? This is kind of a UI UX question, but.
Oh yeah, so I'm assuming that was for the custom search?
Yes, sir.
The custom search, yes. Okay, great, thank you. That was a great question. So absolutely, I mean, one of the things that you could do, there are a number of things that you can do. We support various operators on the query line, just like we do on Bing.com. Or you could issue multiple queries, and you could take the best of those sets, and you could concatenate them in the back end as well and display them in whatever way you wanted to. Or you could work with some of our other APIs, and you could say, well, from a web document perspective, these are the best results. From a news perspective, these are the best results. From an image perspective, these are the best results, and so on and so forth. And you can absolutely put those together in your presentation layer using the JSON output and manifest them to your users in the way that's most appropriate and useful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thanks you guys. Thanks so much, especially you guys hanging out. Come by the booth. We'd be happy to give you a little card, answer more questions. Thanks very much for coming.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Bye-bye.